Hello, Brian.
Hello, Briat. Once again, yet another day. I've lost count. I have no idea how many days I've been where, but I'm feeling good. How are you doing?
Keeping well, keeping good. Today was a bit cooler than the other days. It's getting in the top
Oh, yeah.
30s. So
What's
38,
cooler?
39.
What? 38, 39 is cooler.
It's no today's a bit less. It's probably like 34 or 35.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
that sounds like a nice day. A little bit warm.
yeah, it is.
Well, good. You're having nice weather, but it's a little hot for you, I'm sure.
It's very hot. That's why you never
What should
see me
that
with the shirt
sound?
on.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
Today I was thinking of having a look at what spiritual integrity is. What does it actually mean to have spiritual integrity? So I've got I have a few examples, not that many. Um, let's see what comes up for you around that first.
Well, defining the word integrity is quite interesting because it's one of those
So
English words that kind of you can't just explain it like with a single few words, like as a definition. It's something you kind of you
it
just
has a lot of
like a more like a
interpretations.
concept
Yes.
or a principle that one has to understand. Um,
Yeah.
so one way of that I kind of explain it, understand myself, is like
Yes.
a computer where you sometimes have a file integrity check, and it's scanning the contents of the file, and it's got a, how would I say, something to check it with. It says, okay, all these things have to be contained in this file. And it's comparing this file
Yes.
that you have according to this list that you have. And it's seeing if everything that was supposed to come did come. It's checking whether
Yes.
anything has come which was not supposed to come. And also whether what
Yes.
has come, whether it's functional or whether it might have been broken or altered in any way. So that's
Yes.
an interesting kind of application of integrity.
That's a
Like
great analogy, I have to
did it.
say. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have a
Okay.
bowl, and then if a bowl has good integrity, it can carry water if that's the function that it has. And a bowl with poor
Yeah.
integrity will not be able to perform that function properly.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
think a person
Okay,
with,
that's a completely different meaning than I was using.
hmm,
So I think I think we should expand it. So
what do you
do you want
think?
to speak
What's
about
your
that a little bit,
explanation?
or do you have more?
Yeah, I think I'd like to hear you first, and then we can go on to the spiritual integrity.
Okay. So spiritual integrity of what I was talking about is in regards to the truth. Is that we have your spiritual journey, your transformational journey is the currency is truth. And looking at yourself and being truthful about what you're feeling, and being able to feel unadulterated what's going on with you, because a prerequisite is not being afraid of your human condition, not being afraid of the things that you're feeling, and not having to justify. You don't need to have a picture of what's like kindness. I need to always be kind, or people have a lot of reasons not to look at what's really true because they have an idea of what they're supposed to be, as opposed to just accepting whatever it is that they are. Because there's a lot of stuff that's going on with us at any given time, and there is with the human condition, pettiness is mixed inside, jealousy is mixed inside. It is happening, and that these are, and having integrity with being able to look at what those things are and see them for what they are. And then if they're not useful, then you can make some choices about when that stuff comes up. What are the values that you're applying in regards to them, the petty things, for example. So that's dealing with the truth of who you are and what you're feeling around the human condition, not having an idea of what it is that the prerequisites are, that you can't have an idea of about what you're supposed to be. You actually allow yourself to be what you are. That's part of that truth. um, and then being able to look at the emotions, like I'm actually feeling this right now, and not burying it, or not wanting to change it a little bit because it'll be a little bit more palatable to you. It's taking things. Spiritual integrity means not fudging the margins on reality, looking to see what I am, what I'm doing, what I'm feeling, and dealing with the truth of that. And there's nothing, and I think a lot of people are scared about that, and you don't need to be. is that you can process all of this information, which is to your best outcome from a spiritual path. So these things no longer need to be, with some work, taking you off course, or changing your experience, or just the kind of like beliefs that are loitering and hanging around, and they have an effect of our energy where we don't actually feel good about ourselves or what's going on, and we can all of that can be cleaned up is the point. So I see that as spiritual integrity, is being integral with the truth, is that this is what's going on with me. It might not be me, might not be useful, might not be staying, but it is happening, for example. Any thoughts about that?
Okay. What you're describing also sounds a lot to me like authenticity, and being authentic with yourself.
Authenticity, yes.
Yeah, and being authentic with others, and that's a key part of integrity, and that integrity is more like a broader kind of thing, and it has these kind of parts that make it. And authenticity is certainly one of them, and that one has to be real with.
I think authenticity is when you have spiritual integrity with the truth, then authenticity is a goal, like a value, and it's also an end result. If you have spiritual integrity, then you get to be authentic. That's kind of like the therefore. Okay?
Yeah, so it's interesting, like integrity, like when one pursues it or assesses oneself, then there's always something that one will find where one is not living up in alignment with your own values, which is essentially an indication of a lack of integrity within yourself. So, but that pursuit itself indicates good integrity, because that indicates your sincerity is, you're authentically sincere. It's not just a show, because you are willing to look at yourself and acknowledge where you fall short, and then you put the work in there to bring it up, and that you do that day after day after day, and it's not something that ever stops. So in that sense, one could say integrity is also acknowledging where you do not have integrity, and in that way, so that's very nice. And then that whole authenticity is just as a natural result of that. So being authentic.
Absolutely true. Just to go back to your interpretation of integrity, and is my transformational values going to hold water? And being able to check to see that the protocols came through, and that they're functional, and that nothing came through that wasn't supposed to. I find that's such a great analogy. Do you have, how do you operationalize that? How do you use that in your day? Do you have an example of how you check for the files that you have and the spiritual integrity?
Well, in spiritual tradition, no doubt speaks about certain qualities which should be manifest in a practitioner. Particularly, there's many examples of qualities manifested by spiritual practitioners of an extremely high caliber, of an extremely high level of achievement. So then we have these archetypes which we can have as somebody to aspire for, or a position to aspire for. So then we can compare our qualities which we're manifesting from day to day with those qualities, and saying that, like, I want to adopt those qualities in my life. I want humility, tolerance, authenticity, honesty. I want pridelessness, non-possessiveness, peacefulness. I want these qualities. So then, by knowing what I'm pursuing first, is like, what am I trying to achieve? So that's important to know. So where you're moving to, and if you're moving closer to it or not. And then also knowing where am I at right now, and being able to assess that effectively. And then also being able to take the proper steps and actions in order to step towards from where you are to where you want to be. So and that's basically what the spiritual practice is.
You've just described the mall map, the map at the mall that's on the wall, and there's a place that you're going. There's the strategy that you're using to get there, and most importantly, the little red dot of this is where you are.
Yeah.
And in the journey of spirituality, that's a hard one to find sometimes, is where am I exactly?
Yeah.
Um, yes, I use that analogy a lot. I like that you used all three of them.
Mm.
So just a quick question to go back a little bit. And you said
Mhm.
that there's these values that you have, like humility is one of them. That's the first one that comes to mind. Not. It's just the first one that came to mind. So if you want to change it, so be it. But
Yeah.
can you talk about, with spiritual integrity and that you have an intention? The first thing you have to have as an intention is that I want a value of humility. And then so that you decide that, this is what you want to do. And then you go and take a look at your life and get the dot on the map of, well, this is where I am with my humility currently. And then, what's the process of applying an intervention? What is the process of
Oh,
going? What are the steps involved in being able to do an intervention to be able to become more humble or having more humility?
right.
How would that unfold?
So we've acknowledged now that we lack humility, and therefore we've also now developed a desire to want to develop more humility. So what to do now? So
Yes.
there's a number of things which are effective, and I'll say the most effective thing is that one can adopt qualities by associating with those qualities. So the company you keep or choose, the company you choose to keep is extremely important. If you choose the company of
Yes.
drunkards, then very quickly you'll become an expert drinker. You won't have to apply yourself a
Yes.
lot. If you choose the company of people who are humble, and then naturally that will rub off on you. So that's quite important. Is surrounding yourself with people who have those qualities that you wish to desire, or they also have that sincere desire to want to cultivate those qualities. So that's also there. So good association is important, and also if we hear and read about saintly personalities who possess these qualities of humility that inspire us, and there's so many to pick from all different cultures. So just hear more
Yes.
about these people who have these qualities, like now we're talking about
Quality.
humility, to such an exemplary level, and just hearing by them, that inspiration will just add to that fire of wanting to also imbibe that quality of humility in yourself. So that's a very good way to go. It's
Sure.
like associating with people, and then also hearing about great personalities, saintly people. And then if you also talk about these kind of personalities with other people who also are wanting to cultivate this, that makes for great conversation and very invigorating and enlivening type of company.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think just those two things
It gives
alone.
you ideas
Yeah.
and giving
Yeah.
you ideas of how you can apply it. For me, is when I become aware of the thoughts that aren't humble. When I have a thought that's not humble, and that because now I've sent of intention that I want to be humble, part of finding the red dot of where I am in regards to being humble, then I start looking at, okay, am I being humble in this moment? What did I say? What was the natural thing for me to do?
Mm.
There's a natural response, there's a natural feeling, and then I can go, okay, so is that this was my natural response, whether I did it or not? I checked to see what it was, and then I went, well, is this very humble? And if it wasn't, then I would say, okay, well, what would be a humble response when somebody does X, like what just happened? What
Yeah.
would be a humble response? And then I figure out what that is and then do that. And then every time, so I just do that with everything. I just look to see like the most important places where I need to be humble that I'm not. Usually the more conflictual or the more suffering or pain or the shoulds that, people should be different. That's the place I need to apply it and
Yes.
go, okay, time to be humble. And I identify those and I identify what my value intervention is. And then it's a matter of remembering, I red flag it. So when something comes up, I know that I feel it, that I've red flagged this situation. And then I go looking for what is my humble response. So that's how I did it, was remembering in the moment of what values I wanted to apply. I didn't know any other way around it. That's how I changed any of my behaviors, was doing that. And being around people, like I wasn't as lucky as you were to be I was around really good people, but I wasn't in a community that everybody, you know, where I'd spent a fair amount of time in a community and lived there, where everybody was more or less operating or trying to operate from the same values. That's really a step up, I think, than what I was able to do.
Yeah, it is. And also another thing about
Bring up anything for you?
some qualities like humility is that humility it's a state of consciousness. It's not something that you do, so to speak. It's something that will naturally manifest if it's quality that you have, and if it's not something you can mechanically like attain, you know.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
But it wasn't mechanical in the sense that it wasn't feeling based and it wasn't the value. I didn't do it by osmosis.
Yeah. What I mean to say is like reflection. These things are certainly great, but that's just a method that's used. But there's actually something going on much deeper than that. But these are just certain tools that can be employed, and they are effective.
Yes.
And I'm just stating that it's because people can fake humility, and people might even be fooled by it, and they are.
Oh yeah.
And then but it all comes out in the wash.
Different.
It all comes out in the wash.
Absolutely.
Right.
Faking
We want to
anything around spirituality. Huh?
Like to adopt or imbibe authentic humility, the real deal. And that's not easy.
Yeah,
Actually.
humility or any spiritual practice, if you think that people have an idea of what that looks like and then they try and be that story or that idea, or this is how somebody would perceive me as being humble if I did this.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have 15
Well,
minutes now, so there's about 5-8 minutes left.
Yeah, well, I guess just a last thought is in regards to holding spiritual integrity, like a bull holds water. Would there be any final thoughts that you'd like to share about spiritual integrity?
One should not change one's or the spiritual values to accommodate oneself. One should adjust oneself to align with the spiritual values instead. And a lot of time people don't like to do that because it does require a lot of effort. It requires a lot of acknowledging of certain things within yourself which aren't so palatable. But then, but in that way, you're lowering your bar. So don't lower the bar. Keep the bar high, and then go for that. And even if you make one step towards that, that's success. But if you drop that bar, then you're actually doing yourself in, and then you're losing integrity.
Absolutely true. Yes, so intention matters, and that what the values are that you're shooting for. Like why are you raising your energy, and what is it, what are the values? Where are you going? Yes, very clear. Well, Briat,
thank you.
Maybe we could do a short one for a change. So hopefully that's helpful, and I enjoyed it very much as usual.
Yeah.
I don't have any other thoughts about that.
No.
So thank you very much. You can actually chat.
Right, and thank you also, Brian. It's see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Right.
See you, my friend.
Right.
Love and light.